Recording, and I'm going to share my screen to share the first couple questions. To warm you up, I'm going to start in the chat so that you can respond to this first question in our chat. And will you give me a thumbs up if you can see that slide? Okay, perfect. All right, awesome. Okay, so go ahead in the chat and share with the group your first name, your grade level, and what school district you are working with, or I should have said, some of you are not with a school district, you're with maybe an organization or educated, affiliated professional development group. Like there's a few people in here I know that are, so please share that in the chat with us so everybody can see where you're from. Awesome. And I love, love, love that we have so many districts represented and businesses, organizations related to education. Phenomenal, phenomenal. Okay. Awesome. Colby, reading specialist. Awesome. Ariel, math specialist. Okay, we have a good variety. And Kelly, love SDAC. If you guys are not familiar with SDAC, they have some of the best PD that I've participated in from their training facility. I mean, wow, just really practical, really student focused, but also educator centric. I feel like it's been really a strong support for me as an educator. Okay, awesome. And Debbie, that's fascinating. A lot of people are making a change, I think, this year to different schools or grade levels, or gosh, and a lot of educators are retiring too. So I'm excited that we have some student teachers and newbies that have participated in EdCamp this weekend as well. So welcome to all of you guys. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. And first, I want to know if this is your first EdCamp. And if it is, welcome, and we are so happy you're a part of it. But if it's not, would you be willing to share about your previous EdCamp experience? Colby and I started to talk about this just a little bit when we started, and I'll just give you a quick background from me. I first attended EdCamp with some teacher friends. So EdCamp is typically not virtual. It's in the past, it's been in person. And so our very first EdCamp JOCO was in person at Olathe West High School. And we had sessions there. But one of the first ed camps I went to was actually out in Grain Valley. Yes, I traveled all the way to Missouri because I wanted to participate so much. And what had sparked it was some connections I had made on Twitter with other education leaders that were facilitating that ed camp. And I knew I wanted to meet them in person and connect with them live. And it was such an incredible experience that I've been going ever since. So would anybody else be willing to share, if this is your first ed camp, tell us how it's going for you, what you think. If not, if you've been to ed camp before, tell us a little bit about it.
I'll share. My first ed camp, I don't know how long ago it was. It was probably the first. I moved to Kansas from Oregon, and I was looking for a way to connect with teachers. And I arrived in July, and EdCamp Kansas that Smoke organized was going on. And so Smoke was the first teacher I met in Kansas. So talk about setting the bar high, right? And then I was so inspired by what they did. I joined that team, and I was the treasurer for a long time and got to participate in EdCamp trainings where they take all EdCamp leaders and they make an EdCamp for EdCamp leaders, which was incredible. So I don't know how many I've been to. A lot.
My first one, this is Erin. I teach third grade in Gardner. My first EdCamp was the first one of EdCamp JOCO in person. And then after seeing that, I went to one in Ottawa in 2019. And then then the pandemic happened. So I did attend a couple last year virtually. So I went to one that was only math themed. And then I found a couple just because I had registered through Eventbrite, and then they're like, hey, you might want this one, or you might want this one. So I went to a couple over the summer virtually last year too. And it was interesting since it was virtual. I went to one out of Georgetown, like, you know what I mean? They were just all over the country. And some of the participants were from obviously far away and even other countries too. So I'm excited for this one to be virtual, and hopefully we can be in person next year.
Erin, that's a great point, that now that you've all registered and participated in this EdCamp, Eventbrite is going to prompt you with other events that you might be interested in attending. So hopefully that doesn't bother you. They don't send a lot, but it's really nice when they make suggestions to you of future events that are like this. So it's a great way to get connected with more people and get to some more great ed camps.
I did not attend the one that was virtual last year. So this is my first EdCamp JOCO that is virtual, but I have been to EdCamps prior to that. But I do think that's one upside. One upside of this pandemic is that it's been easy to attend PD from afar. So last year I didn't do EdCamp, but I participated in like this week-long literacy one that was out of Michigan, and it was awesome. And it was so good to get to participate in PD that otherwise I never could have. So I think that's been something really cool too, of when it's on Zoom, you can go even from your living room.
So I attended last year's Ed Camp, and it was my first Ed Camp, and this is my second one, but I did JOCO Ed Camp last year. I believe that it was mostly about transitioning to virtual, actually. Correct me if I'm wrong, April, but April was my mentor, and so whenever I was an intern, a student intern, so it was really nice, like, to get to have an awesome mentor, number one, and then to be invited to such things that like I otherwise would have never known about. So
this is my third one, and I was fortunate to go to the one in person, so it's nice. But I loved what Colby said, that it's this format allows many more people to join us. And I have to make a confession. I think I'm a PD junkie because I love ed camps. I love to PD with my friends. There were other teachers in other places. April, you know that we had a squad last summer. So anyway, I think again that I am a PD junkie, and so ed camp just feeds that fire and allows me to connect with other people, and just love it, love it.
I agree with Colby as well. I really enjoy the virtual format, and the first one that I was able to go to some sessions of was last year's, which was also virtual.
Awesome. Okay, you can tell as I'm multitasking a little bit here, I keep accidentally clicking to the next slide. So you got a little preview of our next discussion slide. So share one new thing you've tried or something you're really proud of that you've accomplished this year. This has been a really unusual year for all of us, a really growing year for all of us, but I think a lot of positive things have come out of it. So take a minute and share one new thing you've tried, and it may be something that you never thought you would try or do, and something that you're really proud of that you've accomplished this year.
We have a new phonics program, and I put all of my spelling lists. Sorry, I just got off the treadmill. I put all my spelling lists onto Google Forms, and so now they can take their spelling tests online if they need to. I only did it for my SPED kids, or if we weren't virtual, I gave them 4 options on how to spell it correctly. But now over the summer, I'm going to go back and I'm going to voice record all of those options and give them the sentence and give them the word. So I'm going to do that over the summer. That's my goal. And it's going to take a while, but I know I can do it.
So I'm a new teacher this year, and so I learned a lot this year. At the beginning of the year, I struggled to keep up with the grade books, so I would wait till, I don't know, the last week when it was due to do everything, which was crazy. However, I've caught up to where I'm doing it monthly. And so by the end of the month, everything is done. Everything's done, and I just have the last month to figure out on the PD day, and then I have the rest of the time to figure everything else out that inevitably needs to be done. So I'm proud of myself for that.
Something new that I tried this year that I never thought I would was a new position. In Olathe Public Schools, I moved from teaching 5th grade to being a title math teacher. So I'm proud of myself. I feel like I've grown a lot this year as an educator, and definitely accomplished a lot as well. So it's been a good change overall, but still miss my teammate every day.
Something I tried this year was to teach remote full time since September. And so I learned a lot of things as far as how to get kids to collaborate online using things like Jamboard, where they can work on application problems and I can see everyone working, but see them still discussing when I go into breakout rooms, like spelling tests on Seesaw, and just finding different ways to collaborate and it not be so, just lecture or whatever, more their driven learning. That's been hard, but I think we've been successful at different times. So I'm proud of that, but I'm ready to be back in person with littles again. So.
Awesome. Welcome to those that are joining us. Brianna, you made a good point there that this has been a totally different way of looking at how we deliver teaching, how we do our jobs. And it's just impressive to see the way that teachers have risen to the occasion this year. I'm so proud to be in this profession. I'm so proud of my colleagues and the people I work with. Brianna happens to work in my building, so I have firsthand knowledge of her awesomeness. But yeah, this has been an incredible year. And I really, in the beginning, the hybrid model was such a challenge. That was definitely something new to try. Lots of new technology and apps. Some worked well in our district and some not so well. But we teachers are very resilient and we worked through a lot of that. And, we pick ourselves up when things aren't going well and we problem solve and we work together. And that's why I love this EdCamp community, because of that collaboration. But Brianna, you're right. A big part of it is being in person with kids. But I love the way, and Smoke mentioned it, it was so inspirational in her morning session, how we connect with the heart and how we're connected with the heart. And I do feel that. I feel each other's heart when we talk about challenges we face and problems, but also big wins to celebrate. Before we move on, is there anybody else that wants to share something new you've tried, something you're proud of, so we can celebrate you?
We really focused on bringing second step. That was something like we had in our buildings, but the teachers didn't really employ. And so they challenged us, I think 3rd quarter, to just like try out a few lessons. And so my teammate and I have been going through it. And then one of my kids, who's one of my tougher ones, the other day, we've been working on our unit right now, is just like how to calm down. And he was like, Mr. Coyne, I need you to get this guy away from me. And this is why I'm angry. And I need you to do this, because if you don't, then I'm going to get mad and I'm going to go to the office, and like naming all these things. And I was like, okay, so what are our steps to calm down? And he was like, well, first I have to name my feeling. And I was like, and you said you were angry. And I was like, what's the next step? And he's like, to choose a calming down step. And I was like, okay, what are some of those? And he was like, well, I could count, I could use positive self-talk, or I can like go away from the situation. I was like, those are all like great choices, dude. So what are you going to do? And he's like, I think counting works for me. And then can I sit at this table over here so it would be farther away from him? And I was like, that's a great choice.
Nick, I love that. We have used second step in our district for the last couple of years. And I'll tell you, with 5th graders, I feel like the strategies are so practical and so relevant. Sometimes they get a little wonky about the music because they're too cool for school in 5th grade. But I've had some groups that totally embrace it. And I have a bucket of sunglasses. Of course, I haven't been able to use those this year, but in previous years, I have a bucket of sunglasses. They put them on because that song, they're singing the blues, stop, name your feeling, calm down. The
Yeah.
songs are catchy, and I love to play them because it sticks in their brain, the strategies. It's like an earworm, whatever, the jingle that won't go away. And so some of my kids, they've embraced it. They put on the sunglasses, they get up and jam with their air guitar, or they do a conga line. One of the songs has kind of this reggae beat, but I feel like it's really been really beneficial, because what I found a lot of times is the kids just don't have the strategies. They don't know what to do. They have these huge emotions, these huge conflicts, and they don't know how to work through it and problem solve through it. And so second step has really helped us with that. So I love that, Nick.
I've been pretty excited in our district that we've been in person all year long. And so just the huge accomplishment of being able to keep our kids in school and all of that has been amazing. So
That's awesome, Jennifer, that teachers and kids have stayed healthy. I mean, I think a lot of teachers are vaccinated now, and that changes everything for us. But this has been quite the journey this year. All right, thank you guys for sharing something new. We're going to move on. Can you share with us, and you could even put this in the chat if you want, or share it out loud, who is someone inspiring that you follow on social media that you would recommend to others? At the top of my list, Mrs. Smoke, if she was our keynote, she is an awesome one to follow. But also there's some great authors and inspirational leaders out there. I kind of have some different people that I follow. Dr. Jody Carrington, in fact, I need to share a Padlet with you. I have a Padlet with some resources that I'm going to share with you in the chat in just a minute. But Dr. Jody Carrington is a great one that shares mental health resources. That's really encouraged me, and I feel like has supported me this year. And then George Kuros is another great follow. But tell me in the chat, what are some people that you follow on social media? You guys are funny, but yes, you made a good point. We need to follow each other. So please share your own Twitter handle. This is a big part of the connection, and the way that EdCamp carries on with you through the year is for you to connect on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook with other teachers that will share ideas of what's going on in their classroom and inspiring things. So absolutely share your own Twitter handle. And if anybody wants to chime in, feel free to chime in on recommends that you have. Oh yes, Angela Watson's another good one that I follow. She's another one that she has a program called the 40-Hour Teacher Work Week. It does have a fee. I did pay it to join that, and that changed my life, because I'm like, I'm putting in so many hours in teaching. How can I prioritize what is best? And she's got some incredible books too. I'll share those resources with you as well. I'll put the Padlet in here, but yeah, she is another great follow. And yes, authors, Lauren Tarshish, authors are other great follows.
Adam Moreno is an awesome one. I'll put his Twitter handle in there.
Apron Education.
He hosts a chat. I think it's every other Monday. It's a hashtag unlock PDL. So he's all about like purpose-driven learning.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, Hello Fifth. Also, that's another great point, Brianna. Following other teachers that are at your grade level is some of my best follows too, because you get just such great ideas for ways that they're teaching reading in their classroom or hosting class meetings and all those things. Absolutely. Those are other really good follows. Awesome. Yeah, chime in if anybody else has one. And definitely Read Like a Rock Star. There's some great literacy follows.
I'll share one. Carmen Zeisler, she's on Twitter at Miss Zeisler, but she's also on Facebook. Carmen is a huge picture book fan, and she has she'll post videos and lessons, and right now she's developing all these book circles that you can use to address SEL, racism, and any kind of issue. Carmen knows the books, and Carmen is a big advocate of, it doesn't matter how old you are, a picture book resonates with everybody. And she is an amazing resource to just follow, or shoot her a message and say, hey, I have a new kiddo, this is coming up, or this came up. And she will shoot you so many ideas, and she'll offer to meet with you. She's an extraordinary teacher.
Oops. Love that. Picture books are such a great tool, like you said, for teaching so many concepts and connecting with the heart. Awesome. Everybody's really concentrating on this. I love it. So many great follows. Awesome. Okay. All right. What is one strategy, idea, or tip that's really helped you build relationships with your students this year? And I think my former teammate can relate to this. She and I realized pretty quickly in 5th grade that we needed to have class meetings first thing in the morning, and that really helped us to check in with our kids and get that little barometer check or temperature check of how they're feeling and how they're doing. And sometimes you've got to give them, again, second step with the strategies, or make a connection, have a mental health check-in on a Jamboard, or some kind of check-in during your class meeting where you are kind of helping them process maybe the rough morning that they had and validate those experiences and feelings, but help them, to be able to move forward in that space for learning. Or maybe, they need to go speak with the school counselor or another trusted adult in your building, or take a minute to regroup. So having class meetings first thing in the morning has been a huge, huge help in just starting our day off on the right foot.
So our school counselor actually made us a board that just said, how are you doing today? And it had a good face, bad face, and an in-between face. I did not like that it was posted so everyone else could see, because we would do post-it stickers, but the names would be on the back. But then everyone would go over there, and if they would peek and stuff and see how everyone was doing. And so I didn't feel like it gave us the right data on how they were doing for a daily check-in. So I made it onto the Jamboard, and we have been in person all year. I just felt that it was more private that way. And we do in our school a student of the month, and so that's the leader usually. I also have in my classroom, I have a couple that I'll change out as my leader of the week. And so if anyone is needing help, that's their job, to help them finish and get organized, clean out their lockers, whatever they need. If I just notice that someone else is kind of struggling in that area. And then at the end of the year, like right now, we haven't state assessed yet. We're doing that next week and the week after that. We have been in person all year. And so once in a while, if I just notice that they're down a lot lately, I have some fairy lights and I'll turn them on, and that's their cue just to act crazy. I'll give them a song, probably about a 3-minute song, and they can just do whatever they want. If they want to act up, stand up on their chair, and let loose. I'll be right there beside them. They know rules. There's some rules with it. But if they want to run around the room and get their sillies out, I'll let them.
I was about to say, I was kind of piggyback off of that one. We do a morning check-in every day. It's on Google Forms. And I change it up every quarter because I found after about a quarter, they start just putting the same thing in for an answer. So I have 4 of different ones for each quarter as the year builds. But the kids every morning go on, they scan, they know to get in and send me their morning check-in. And it's super helpful because some of the kids that might not be willing to tell me through the day that something happened the night before, I've got some really good insight off of that check-in in the morning. Like, I didn't get to eat breakfast, so I'm really hungry, or this is what went down at my house last night, and so I'm thinking about that. And so it allows me to know that they're coming in however it is that they're coming in, either really great or not so great. And I can either get them support that way, or at least I know that that day is going to maybe be rough. And then from there, I do a morning song. It's a song by Jason Mraz. Oh gosh, I just completely blanked it. It's called Have It All. Just kidding. Had to look at that on my phone, even though I listen to it every single morning. That's embarrassing. It's called Have It All, and it is amazing. And so my kids will either sing, or that's their chance to just wander and talk or do whatever. And that gives me a chance to go find some of those kids that like I need a chance to check in with, because they know that's just the time we're going to be wandering and talking and all of that. So that helps get our morning off just perfect, because we have to hit the ground running. We have writers workshop, and we're one of the model schools. So a lot of times I have visitors in watching. So I don't get a chance to sadly do a lot of the morning meetings and stuff this year because of our scheduling and timing, but that 3-minute time is just enough to really get the kids ready to go for the day. And it's super funny because I now have parents that have messaged me and said that on the weekends they still play that song for their kid, because it makes their kid happy. And it's like just the most heartwarming thing to know that they've carried that over into their home life too. So
So again, my sort of viewpoint is different because I'm sped. I work mostly one-on-one, and we rotate, so I don't have a time where all my kids are in there. However, every time that we transition in the morning, the first time that I have the kids, I check in with them. I give them about 5 minutes to just talk, because they need that. I feel like they're learning all day, and they don't just have time to talk. Like I have a kid that likes to quote movies and make dinosaur noises. Okay, well, let's make dinosaur noises together. And when he was doing remote, it was really fun to just check in as soon as we got on. Hey, what did you have for lunch? Because he did remote in the afternoon, but he was there in the morning. And it seemed like he was in a better mood after that, because he did not want to work. And just knowing that I cared about how he is doing really helped him.
I love that, Sydney, and I love that you shared your perspective of how your classroom looks different than other classrooms. I think that's another really valuable thing about EdCamp is how we're able to share all the different perspectives and different classroom setups and things we have. And I'm super proud of you. I loved having you as a student teacher, and I'm so glad that you're having an awesome year. Anybody else want to share a strategy or tip that's helped you this year before we go on to the next question?
I can share, and Cindy, it is so great to see you too. I'm so proud of you too. I have small groups all day if I'm not in and out of classrooms. And they change really frequently, the small groups. So one thing that I've tried to do, because it's super important to me to build relationships, because I know that once I build relationships, my time in those small groups are going to be far more effective. So whenever they line up at the end of the day, as simple as it seems, I ask them a seemingly super random question just to get their answer and get to know them better, but also make connections amongst the group, since it needs to function really quickly and effectively, and it might not be for very long. So I've just found that they look forward to it, which is it. I was doing it for me to get to know them, but they look forward to it. And if I don't have enough time or I'm running out of time, they don't let me not ask them my super random question of the day. So it's really, really quick, but it's been really helpful for all the small groups.
Something I do on, I try to do it once a month. I shared in another group, so you might have heard this already, but I try to do once a month called Feedback Fridays, and I give my kids a little half sheet of paper, and it asks them their name, and then in the past it was been different because I changed my seating arrangements a lot more, and they could sit in groups, but I asked them 3 people they would want to sit next to, 1 person they would not want to sit next to, and then someone in our classroom that's been showing star behavior, or we're the Moonlight Stars. So, who has been following all of our class rules and school rules. And then they get to rate themselves from 1 to 5 on their effort in the classroom that week and their kindness in the classroom that week. And so it helps me know, obviously, the relationship. So maybe two friends I thought were really close, maybe they're upset with each other this week, so they aren't on that 3-person list. But it also helps me if there's a recurring student on that I don't want to sit next to them list, is there a reason why? Like maybe they are making poor choices when they're supposed to be playing with each other, or maybe they're not, they need some like coaching on social skills. That helps me know. And then I like to, some of my kids who are a little more maybe down on themselves, saying they weren't very kind or didn't work very hard, I can have a powwow and I'm like, well, I think you were a 5 behavior. I think you were a 4. You said you were a 2 or a 3, but that's not what I'm seeing. So helping build their confidence in that. And then something else I saw, either probably on Pinterest or Instagram, it was like the hashtag I wish my teacher knew. It was kind of big a few years ago, but if you go to like Teachers Pay Teachers and type that in, there's some freebies to print off, and it's a little sheet of paper too. And it's just like, I tell my kids, you can tell me, whatever, it's just between you and me. And I say that with the Friday feedback too, but it's like, what do you want to tell me? And some of them are like, my birthday's next week and I can't wait to see what this present is. And some are saying, it's upsetting when my sister doesn't let me play Legos with her, or whatever it might be. Like it could be like a frivolous thing that they just are like, my favorite color is green, or it could be a bigger thing that maybe, and they can check, please talk to me about this, or I need to talk to a counselor, or something like that. So I enjoy seeing those things, and it helps me springboard those conversations that maybe need to be had.
Erin, that is awesome. And I promise I'm not having a spasm over here. Every time I go to click the chat, I'm accidentally transitioning the slide. So I apologize for that. It's Monday morning on Sunday. Just going to keep it real here. Erin, I love that. Feedback Friday. Some of my best advice I've gotten is when I just flat out ask my students, what did you think of this activity? What did you think of this lesson? What about this? How did this go? And getting their feedback. So that is awesome. And yes, I was trying to mention in the chat that I received that book as a gift. It's one of my favorite gifts. I wish my teacher knew. Phenomenal book. And I love that another great or silver lining, we'll say, coming out of this pandemic is that companies, businesses, authors, people have made more resources free to educators. And I have gobbled that up. I mean, just soaked it up, and I save it and download everything I can get. So that is awesome, Erin. Okay, I hate to stop this question. We've got a few more questions. Let me wait 1 more minute. Does anybody else have something they want to add or share?
One thing I've done for a few years is there's a card game called Super Fight. It's kind of a Cards Against Humanity, apples to apples kind of style, but I call it Super Fight Fridays. And I just pull at random a character and a couple attributes for that character, and I put it up on the board, and I either put it in a Google form or a Padlet, kind of just depends. Or sometimes we just talk, and the kids have just basically this debate about who would win the fight, and it's the most ridiculous stuff you could possibly imagine. But it teaches kids a little bit about how to make argumentation and support it with evidence, but it also lets them be a little bit silly on a Friday. and get some of the giggles out. And it's a good time. It's a good conversation.
That is awesome, Ryan. I think that might be something fun that I could work in my class meetings. So, okay, excellent, excellent. Okay, tagging on to that, great segue there, Ryan. Tell me an inspiring author or resource or something you've used in your classroom that you'd recommend. I'll share. Our very own Josh Stock wrote Awesome Sauce. I love this book. Love, love, love it. My fifth graders, they are such a TikTok, YouTube generation. Half of them want to be YouTube stars when they grow up. So creating videos with them this year has really helped me to build connection, engage them, sharing video clips, making a class trailer. We've even created, they made barcodes in some of the books because we couldn't have our traditional book buddies this year, you know, where we meet with a lower grade. So my kids have read aloud picture books and made QR codes that we could share with younger grades in our classroom. Just, oh my gosh, Josh has so many ideas. So, and I think somebody has already won this book. And if you win the ISTE, if you're a prize winner, this is one of the books you can pick on the ISTE pack. So, and if you're more comfortable, share in the chat. I love all the conversation in the chat. I'm planning to, yes, share these PowerPoint slides I will share with you. Yes, this recorded video we will share. And I'm pretty sure I can archive the chat as well. So I think it comes out a little funky looking document. Reminds me of an old DOS. So it's kind of funny, but that way, if you didn't get everything written down or can't scroll back, you guys can access that later. So that'll all be accessible.
So in my last session, I was talking about teaching with Neon. It's a Facebook page. And at the beginning of the school year, everyone was sharing all their free Google Classroom slides, and I just took them. And there was one that shared she had made wonders online into her Google Slides, and she's a third grade teacher, and she was giving them for free. So I was like, I'm going to take these. And it's been so helpful having that. And we have been in person all year, luckily. However, just that technology use and being able to understand it, if we ever did go remote, it was very helpful for my kids. I think, luckily we never did. But also, if it's on the smart board, I feel like they're more engaged because they want something that's not on paper and pencil all the time. So even if it is the exact same thing that I would be saying in paper and pencil form, it's just a way to engage them further, I think.
However simple this may sound, I have a student who loves Spider-Man. And so he was having trouble learning how to count from 1 to 100. So Spider-Man got up on YouTube. It was like a Spider-Man bodysuit, and he was doing a different dance move every 10 moves. So like 1, 2, 3. And I'm like, okay, we'll do this. And he loved getting up and moving and dancing with Spider-Man, and would ask about it even after he'd learned how to count to 100. But just getting up and moving, being able to add specific things that your students like, I think really helps also.
Speaking of getting free things off Facebook, you guys have not looked at like pixel art. Has anyone done those? So there's like pixel art for educators or something. I can see if I can find it and drop it in the chat. They apparently are easy to make. I have not tried. But basically they are color by number. I think of like those mystery pictures that you would be like 4 times 4 is 16, and then color all the 16s this color, and then it eventually makes a picture, only it's digital. So they're all in Google, their Excel sheets. And so my kids love it. So I just assign them in a Google Classroom and then make everyone a copy, and the kids, so they have some for reading and some for math and some for SEL. Like I'll read a book and then the kids have to answer questions on it. And all these lovely teachers have made them. And some of them are like, I'm obsessed with this. I made this one. Let me know what you want me to format it as. But you can like, Sydney, there's ones like for Spider-Man, like you were just saying, or like my kid, like with the Super Bowl, they had like a Chiefs helmet and a Patriots helmet, and it had like Super Bowl 2021 or yeah. So, I mean, but I'll find it and I'll drop it in the chat, but my kids love them. And I try to do them at least once a week, but it's a good, we do it maybe during my tier time when I'm pulling a group back to my small group table, working on something that's a seat work activity instead of handing them a worksheet. They love it, but I'll go look for it right now.
Love that, Erin. Thank you. And that reminds me, is Nick still on here? He's doing a really awesome class kick session coming up. There's some more. Oh my gosh. I don't know about you guys, but it's been really hard for me to choose which session to go to. So I am so grateful they're recorded because I'm like, I want to go to all three in this hour, eeny, meeny, miny, mo kind of thing. So it's been totally awesome. Totally awesome. Okay. I just realized we're getting a little close on time. So I really appreciate all the ideas and engagement. I hope you guys are finding this valuable. I know I am. This is one of my favorite parts about EdCamp is when you can collaborate and talk and just share, because we are there in the classrooms doing the work, and it's some of the best, most practical ideas. So this one, I'm going to move on. What is a favorite team building idea or class activity that has developed your students' ability to persevere, problem solve, and work together, which have been huge characteristics we've needed to develop in our kids and ourselves this year, to be quite honest. I am going to share this in the Padlet, but we have I do a Tuesday team builder. So every Tuesday's class meeting is a Tuesday team builder. And so I have a bunch of ideas of resources and stuff I've shared, but I just did something really crazy that was so successful that I'm going to share really quick. So we had some Lego kits, and they're just small, like little minifigure kits that were donated. And I opened the little boxes, took away the directions, and I just gave the kids the little bag of Legos to their teams and said, I want your team to work together and see if you can figure out what this is and build this. And then, then we'll check it with the picture after you've built it and see how close you got. I cannot believe my high energy, very social, very active class was so focused and worked together so well on building Legos. It's such a fascinating thing. And I saw this in my son, who is also on the spectrum, where he would really have a lot of challenges focusing and interacting socially. But when you gave him, when he got a Lego set for Christmas that could have 15 bags in it, he could sit for hours and put it together. So I highly recommend, if you don't have a tub of Legos, go to your nearest Goodwill or Savers and check their aisles where the toys are and get you some Legos, because I feel like they are just an amazing open activity that you can easily do some team building activities with.
Yeah, April, to kind of piggyback off that kind of like ties into what I posted in the chat. Legos are great if you want to do a vocabulary challenge to see if they really understand what the definition of the word is. Give them a list of vocabulary words and say, here's your set of Legos. You need to build a representation of what each of, what these words mean. And it's really fun to see what they come up with and how they think out of the box. I shared a resource I created. It's kind of a mashup of some different edu protocols called Vocabulary Throwdown. And it's a quick, like 5-minute activity where kids have to, after we find the definition and kind of agree on what the definition of that word is, and they write the definition in their own words, that as a team, they've got 5 minutes to find a GIF example, a meme example, an image example, historical, modern examples, use it in a sentence, find 3 antonyms and 3 synonyms for that word. And it is amazing how efficient kids get and how much they get into a 5-minute vocab competition. I mean, and that's literally all it is.
So I'm going to piggyback off Ryan, what Ryan was just talking about, and problem solving. We just finished our government unit, and we have the mayor coming in on Tuesday, and they noticed when we were doing our nature walks around town, some problems like sidewalks, trash, and all that stuff. So I had them write down questions on what they could do to ask the mayor when he comes in. And using protesting, I had them protest a problem that they are seeing in the school, and then they had to present to our principal. And then we have actually, he agreed to let us do one of the presentations, like the winning presentation, I guess you could say. It was about the color recycling project with markers and pencils that you can recycle afterwards. So every Friday now, my kids have to go to the classrooms and get those items if they are recycled in the class. So it was kind of fun to see their minds working and problem solving and coming up with the ideas that they're seeing around our communities.
Natasha, I love that because that shifts them from self-focused to outward focused, reaching out, civic responsibility, how I can make my community better, do things in my community. Quick piggyback off of that. My students, we were doing kindness deeds this last quarter. I'm like, how can we leave a legacy, do something positive, leave our school community better than it was? So we keep doing a different act of kindness every day this last quarter. And one of the things we did was went out and picked up a bunch of trash on the playground, which was shocking how many Walmart sacks we filled with little just debris and trash that was on our whole playground area. But they got to talking and realized there was no trash can. So our playground is kind of open to the community. And so a lot of kids come play after school, ride bikes, families come. We got a ball field there, so some teams practice, yada, yada. So they realized we need a trash can on our playground, like that's fixed. So they've reached out to our principal, and I think they're planning, this is part of a project, they're gonna get trash cans placed on our playground now because of the kids' passion and interaction for that. And they're like, we need to talk to Mrs. Julo about that. So absolutely love that. Absolutely love it. I see we have I'm going to end this session about 10:55 so that everybody has time to get to the next session. So we have about 9 minutes left. So I'm going to let anybody else that wants to share about this one. And we've just got a couple.
April, you muted yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. I sure did. A little more of that spasm. I blame it on Sunday morning. And I also blame it on the fact that I broke my leg, and I'm doing a lot better. I'm like 5 weeks out now, but it's kind of messed with me a little bit, but it's all good. It's a very humbling experience. And trust me, you do not want to break any bones. Do not break any bones. Okay, awesome. We're going to move on. What website, app, or other technology have you used this year that you can't live without? It could be something simple or it could be something big or broad. I know we've all been introduced, developed a real growth mindset with this one. So share with us, what's something you can't live without?
April, I think you said it earlier, but once in a while, I just make a TikTok with my class. I had permission sign a sheet saying that I could. We don't share any personal information on where we're from or anything, but it's amazing to see them just be kids. And if they want to show me a new dance, then I get in there and I try my best.
I think we said it earlier, but Emily and I think if she's still on here, I've been using Blookit, and it is amazing. It is like Kahoot on steroids, and my kids have loved it. And on top of that, you can build questions, you can import from Quizlet. And so some of the things I had already created, I can just upload. And I do have to say that my percentage of reading tests, the percentage of success has risen about 20%. So having that, having a tool that not only helps you because the kids are engaged, but helps them on top of it, I mean, total win-win.
And I will add, the best thing about Blookit is it doesn't have to with, oh gosh, I just lost it. Kahoot, you have to kind of play it all together at the same time. So like your slowest moving kid is who you're basing it off of. And then the kids get frustrated and then they just click a random answer. Blookit allows them to play at their own pace. And so everyone can be playing the game at the pace that works for them and no one has to be upset. And my favorite part about it, so I have this year based because of like our numbers, I have about a third of my class is in resource and SPED. And so they are able to still win in games. They might not be getting the most answers right, but it has those like gotcha pieces to it where you can like steal someone's points away from them or like drop the highest person by 25%. And so even those kids that are only getting 2 or 3 questions right, based on their abilities, they are still so engaged because they know at any point they can throw a wrench in the game, and they adore it. Like I have never seen kids so engaged while playing a game before, and like kids just beg for it all the time because they love it so much.
Yeah, Emily, GimKit is another great one there. I know Blookit's a free option here. GimKit, I know, has a pay option, so there's that kind of balance. I'll throw out emc2learning.com. Michael Matera, John Meehan built this website, so if you know who those two guys are, huge gamifiers, but there's also just a ton of just engaging Google Slides presentations that are basically plug and play. You make a couple tweaks to what you want to do, and you automatically have a fun, engaging either presentation or lesson for kids, and it gets them up and excited about learning. So that's a great one there. And there's an awesome just community there. So there's discussion boards, and you can bounce ideas of teachers from around the world that are a part of it. It's an amazing site. They have a free version and they have a paid version. I'm telling you, the paid version is worth every penny of it. You will get a ton out of it easily. And they're always dropping new stuff. So it's really cool.
Ryan, do you remember how much that paid version is, just real quick off your head?
Okay, so don't throw things at me, people. So originally it was $100 a year if you got in kind of on the ground floor of it. That promotion has ended. It's now $200 a year. I did not use school money to do it. I paid for it out of my own pocket because I said not enough people in my building are probably going to use it. So it's going to be hard to justify a school expense for it. But I'll tell you what, I'll use it and I can take care of it. I don't have thousands of hours to code and program and set up all of the Google Slides that they've done, but I've got the money. I feel like that's worth it. And these are guys that I would invest in. Like just the amount of stuff I get from them is amazing to me. So thank you, Sheila. You are far too kind and hype way too more praise than I deserve, but thank you.
No, Ryan, I'm with Sheila. I have learned so much from you. I'm really happy to connect with you more at EdCamp this year. And I appreciate your honest review of that. I mean, it's a pretty common thing where if educators want to use resources, I mean, they cost money, but it's just really good to hear the value you find in that. And I bet if I asked, everybody on here has spent their own money on things, raise your hand if that's you, on things for your classroom. Not that we want to normalize that or make that okay, but it's a common reality for many of us. If there's a resource we really want, and it's usually something we want like right away, it's a fairly immediate need. And so the process of getting school funds or some way to pay for that is always challenging. But thanks, Ryan. I appreciate
I'll
you
throw
sharing
one
that.
more thing on about
Okay.
that is that about once a month they do a like Zoom style meeting. They use Topia is the web-based platform that they use, but it's but about once a month, and it's basically just an EdCamp session with John Meehan, Michael Matera, and all the teachers who are involved in this whole thing. And I mean, they'll go for hours. I mean, just talking to people, bouncing ideas, getting ways to tweak, even things that they've presented. If you're having trouble with it, they'll talk you through a great way to kind of approach it. It's basically like a monthly consultation with 2 engagement and gamification experts. So.
And really quick, I'm so sorry, April. Those 2 gentlemen, John Meehan and Michael Matera, they have offered so many free things through the years. Like I have begged, borrowed, and stolen from them, and their stuff is amazing. So the $200 to them actually would probably not even pay for all the free stuff that I have like stole from them. So anyways, just kind of, I'm willing to pay that money to someone who has given. And you know, I mean, and the stuff that you're getting, I couldn't create it. I don't have enough time. So it's awesome.
Sheila, I'm glad you chimed in on that because I agree. They offer so much for free too. I really appreciate educators, people in the field that see the value in that for teachers. Okay, I can't believe this time has gone by this fast, and I didn't think I was going to have enough question slides. Okay, so we're going to wrap this up. You know what I think I'm going to do since we've only got a minute left? If you want to respond in the chat with any other comments, you can do that. I was going to have people share a unique challenge or fear regarding teaching you faced and overcome this year. Like, for example, seeing yourself on video on Zoom when this whole thing started. So put that in the chat, but I want to wrap up with this question, I think. What is a habit, ritual, routine, or practice you've started this year that has supported your mental health that you can share? And it might be something that you've done that you've shared with your students, your colleagues, or for yourself. One I'm going to share real quick with my students is something called Mind Yeti. Mind Yeti has, and I'll add the link to that as well. It is an online program that you can use. That is, there's a basic membership that's free, or again, there's a paid version that you can access more. But there's a lot you can access for free. And it gets you in the practice. It calls it, when students feel the hub bubbles, it calls it. So it's a really great, it's probably not as ideal for secondary, but for elementary, I think it's ideal. The hub bubbles are all those thoughts, emotions, feelings, everything swarming around you that your mind won't rest, which I think this is a common issue for teachers at night when they can't sleep and the hub bubbles are swarming, they calls it. And so it teaches you practices to calm your mind, calm yourself. And I know there's a lot of great apps out there like that too. This one just is all set up for you with little short video clips. They're 5 minutes or less. So it's just little practices you can do. They're really great to use before test sessions and test season to help kids kind of get to that calming place and relieve that anxiety and stress they feel about that. I love, love, love all the sharing happening in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing the session grid there, or my presentation. It is a Google Slides presentation, so I will put it in the chat if you want to access that. And please know you have my permission. If you want to copy it and share it with your own staff or in your own, I am all about sharing resources and sharing. I mean, this is part of the education community and EdCamp philosophy is any resources, anything I share, you bet you take it, you use it. And that is a huge compliment because a lot of it I have begged, borrowed, and stolen from others. So it's this recycling of that. But we are running out of time. And I know some of you want to get to the next session, and I'm actually a session manager for the next session. So I'm going to have to bolt out of here and join, but I want to say, thank you, thank you, thank you. This exceeded my expectations. It's Sunday morning. I know people, and it's sunny. And I thought, oh, people aren't going to want to be inside and doing a session. But thank you guys so much. You made this so much richer. Appreciate you all, and enjoy your final sessions of EdCamp. Don't forget to join us for the closing session. We are giving away $25 Amazon gift cards to teachers in the last session, and there's still prizes to win. So keep participating, and thank you guys so much.
Thank you.